Welcome to Jane Jackson Careers, a podcast to inspire you to take your career to the next level. In this podcast, I chat with amazing professionals who are leaders in their field and find out what's made them a success. Many of them have successfully made changes in their careers. They may have changed industry, changed job function, made big city or country moves, or taken the huge leap into entrepreneurship. I also share practical and actionable career tips for those who want to explore what to do next in their career and aren't sure about what steps to take to get moving. Subscribe to this podcast for regular updates or visit me at janejacksoncoach.com.
This is Colin Gray from thepodcasthost.com and you're listening to Jane Jackson Careers.
Well, hello and welcome back to my Careers podcast. Today, I'm very fortunate to be interviewing Hannah Martin, who runs the Talented Ladies Club in the UK. Hannah is an award-winning copywriter with 20 years' experience working for some of the world's biggest agencies and brands. She's also a qualified psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, and NLP practitioner. In 2013, Hannah launched the Talented Ladies Club with her friend, designer Kary Fisher. Together, they're passionate about helping women find ways to fulfill their career and business ambitions while being the mums they want to be. Since its launch, Talented Ladies Club has gone from strength to strength with tens of thousands of readers every month. They publish daily articles and interviews and run a popular membership program packed with over 100 workbooks and 12 mini courses to help women start and run businesses they love. This is one busy lady. Now, I'm thrilled to have Hannah on the show, and so welcome, Hannah.
Hello, Jane.
Hi, it's great to have you on the show, and I'm really excited to find out all about you and how your career has progressed. So how about to kick us off, tell us a little bit about where you're from and your early days.
Well, I'm from the south of England. I grew up in a very tiny village in the countryside, and I started out. I did a fine art degree when I left school. I loved art, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something creative. But 2 years into my fine art degree, I realised it wasn't for me. I was being quite lazy. I wasn't really going into college much. And I wasn't enjoying it. And I sort of realised if I was going to get anywhere in life, it would be on ambition and hard work rather than sort of the piece of paper that I was at college to try and get. So I dropped out. And I was really lost. And I remember going to see a careers counsellor and just saying to her, I want the kind of job that I would do 7 days a week for free. I loved it so much, but I happened to get paid for it. And she wasn't terribly enlightened, as they tend to be in small villages in Sussex. And she suggested, well, maybe I got a job as a secretary and did a bit of art in the evenings. And I couldn't think of anything worse than that. And so feeling really lost, I saved up and I bought a one-way ticket to Hong Kong. Now, I'd never, ever been to Asia before, let alone Hong Kong. I had no one there. I had no job, no home, no friends. But I thought, if I'm going to have a rubbish job, at least it's somewhere exotic. So I moved to Hong Kong. And while I was out there, I did actually find my dream job, which was being a copywriter. I had a friend who worked for an advertising agency, and I went in at the weekend to see them. And I just fell in love with the creative department. It felt like an art college. It seemed like just the kind of place that I'd love to be. So I got an appointment with the executive creative director and basically talked him into hiring me. And that was it.
Wow, what a fantastic start. And you know, I'm from Hong Kong originally. I grew up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so you couldn't have chosen a better place to go. If you were going to escape becoming a secretary, then Hong Kong was a really good place to go. And so you got into copywriting. And then how long were you in Hong Kong and how long were you copywriting?
I spent 5 years in Hong Kong, and by that point I'd been a copywriter for 3 years. And then I went travelling for a year and then came back to the UK. And luckily I worked for Ogilvy and Mather, which is one of the world's biggest advertising agencies. And I had a really good book of work. So when I came back to the UK, I found it very easy to find work in London at the top agencies, and my career didn't really falter. I freelanced for a while and then I worked for some other big agencies in London. So my career has been a mix of freelance and permanent jobs.
So from copywriter to now you're running Talented Ladies Club, there's a big gap somewhere. I need to find out what the story is. So how did you get from being a copywriter in a very large, well-known agency to running your own business, the Talented Ladies Club?
It's not actually that big a gap, really. I mean, when I had my son, for a great deal of time I was a single mum. I lived outside London, and I was the only breadwinner, and I had to support my son and an au pair. So I worked really long hours in London, and I didn't see my son. He was basically raised by other people. I missed his first steps. I missed his first days at school. I was, I guess, like sort of the man of the family in many ways. You know, you go off and bring in the bacon, but you're not really there for family things. And when I met my current partner now, and I fell pregnant with my daughter, I decided that I didn't want to do the same thing. And now I had a partner to share the financial burden with, that I would freelance from home. So I stopped going into London and changed the way I worked quite drastically. And initially it was very difficult because my clients before had been the big agencies in London, and many of them are quite old-fashioned in the way they work, and they don't employ people who work from home. So I needed to find direct clients and new different clients. And slowly I built up a freelance career from home. And while I was doing that, I also sort of realised as well that all the time I worked in London, I basically slept in my hometown, but I didn't invest anything in the relationships there. My friends were all either in London or overseas. So when I had my daughter, I was quite lonely. I didn't know anybody in my town. And because I was at home with my daughter, I didn't see my old friends. So I started to reach out to local groups and to find women locally that I could get on with. And I just couldn't believe the wealth of amazing talent that I uncovered. My friends had held positions, like they were senior buying directors in big fashion brand. One of them was a financial director of a big beauty brand. These were women who were at the top of their game. And all of them really struggled after they had children to find a way to do something they really loved, but also be a mum. You know, they couldn't slot back into it wasn't even 9 to 5, it was more like 8 to 10 jobs when they were mums, but they hadn't lost any ambition, and they were really quite lost. And I myself, having found my own way to do that, really wanted to help these women, and not just the women that I knew personally, but I thought, if in my small hometown I can come across so many women like this, there must be hundreds of thousands of them around the world who feel the same. And that's where the idea of Talented Ladies Club really came alive.
Wow, that is so amazing. You know, it's so tough as a single mum. And then it's so true when you're working so hard and then you're trying to look after your own child or your own children, you tend to get quite isolated, don't you? And you still want to be able to be contributing to society, or, you know, to make new friends. But sometimes you end up in your little bubble with you and your child, and then the work. And so having that support group that you've obviously developed with Talented Ladies Club is so valuable for everybody all across the UK and also overseas.
Yeah, I think what we forget, we tend to look at work as fulfilling a very specific need, as in work equals money. But it's so much more than that. If you ask a woman in her 20s, and you meet her, one of the first questions you'll ask is, what do you do? And then when we have children, people stop asking you that. You know, you go to the school gates, people don't ask you, what do you do? And so when you're younger, a massive part of your identity is embedded in who you are. In fact, one of the things we ask children is, what will you be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And so our career is not just a way that we earn money, it's a big part of who we are. And then when we have children, when we step away from that career, we then need to redefine ourselves, because we lose a massive part of our identity. So I think it's a lot more than just simply working. I think it's a lot to do with your emotional health and your mental health.
Yes, and feeling that you're still contributing to the community, that you're worthwhile. I think there's so much emphasis put on, you know, like job titles, and you're absolutely right. When you become a mum, and I know I felt like this as well when my kids were younger, it's like, okay, you're a mum now. And then it's like, well, I'm a lot of other things as well, but people do tend to put you in that little bit of a box. And so tell me, Talented Ladies Club, because I know it's just such a great membership site, and there's so much information in there, and it's just so, what can I say. It's just there's so much information and so much support for people who might feel a little bit lost and not quite sure what to do. And you've got your forums there where there's so much support. Tell me, how did you come about actually starting the entire business itself?
Well, I had the idea, and I'd sat on it for about a year and a half because I didn't really know what to do with it. I knew there was a need for something like this because at that time I looked around and there were no other sites that talked to me. There were some sites that were set up for mums who worked, but they didn't really appeal to me. They didn't talk about, it was more like, you used to have a career, now just do anything. It seemed to sort of dumb down slightly that we had to take second best because we were mums. And I felt really passionately that wasn't the case. And that certainly wasn't something I was prepared to do, and nor my friends. And so anyway, I had this idea, but I didn't really know what form it would take. I was just a little bit scared because I had never set up a business on my own before. And I just had this thing that I am not an entrepreneur. I thought you were either born with that sense of being an entrepreneur, fully formed. I didn't really have the confidence to do it on my own. And it wasn't until Kary, who I do Talented Ladies Club with, was a friend of mine. And one day she said, you've been talking about this idea. I'll do it with you. Why don't we do it together? And about the same time, a friend of Kary's had just qualified as a business coach. And she was looking for her first clients to get her going. And she offered a couple of free sessions. And I was trying to think of who I could put forward as a recommendation. And I thought, well, why don't I do it myself with this little idea that I've had for so long, not done anything with. And within 7 days of my first session, I had a business plan. And within 4 months, the site was live. So once I think the most important thing about that business coaching is I realised actually no one is an entrepreneur until they actually do it. And the only way you can become it is to try it and make mistakes. And everybody makes mistakes. Richard Branson makes mistakes. That's all part of learning. And so, once I got going, that was it.
There's a lot of people thinking about setting up their businesses. I know a business plan is very important and having a marketing plan is very important, but I reckon the most important thing is to have the passion, the drive, the dream, and the desire for success, and then just get on with it, because done is better than perfect, and we're going to make mistakes regardless. And I know certainly for me, I have an idea and I think, okay, well, let me give it a go and see if it's going to work. And if it doesn't quite work, I'm going to fix it as I go along. And this is how really my business evolved over the past 15 years, because I wasn't quite sure exactly how I was going to structure it at the beginning. And I do these Road to Entrepreneurship workshops, and everyone says, okay, well, give me the exact steps of what do I need to do in order to get from A to Z. And the path is so different for many people. So good on you for getting it started and also making such a success of it in such a short period of time. So tell me, when you were setting everything up and within 4 months you said you had the business was launched, what was the most challenging aspects of getting the business up and running for you?
I think for me, it was the technical aspect, because that was something that I couldn't learn and we had to outsource. And luckily, we've got a brilliant developer. So for me, that was the block, because I'm a real doer and I'm a learner, and I taught myself SEO. I learned those things, but actually physically developing a site was something that was beyond my ability, and it was something I wasn't prepared to learn. It was too much of a journey. So I think it was that side of it, having to outsource something and depend on someone else and their timings, because and actually also as well, just time. I mean, Kary and I, we launched with 100 pages. So from December to April when we launched, we came up with the idea, we came up with the plan, we did the wireframes, we did the site map, and then we had to write and design 100 pages of copy to go up. And that was we gave ourselves such a huge workload. And there were times where I remember we'd have a meeting and it was so sleep deprived, we couldn't even talk. But we were really, we had set, I think that's a really good thing. We had set ourselves a really ambitious target and we were determined to meet it, and we did. And it was an inhuman sometimes workload, but we got it done.
You know what, you're talking about sleep deprived. Being a mother prepares you for being sleep deprived for sure. So you were probably on a roll already.
Yeah.
And so setting everything, 100 pages to get, up and running. I mean, that's phenomenal, isn't it? There's so much work. So tell me the most rewarding aspects of setting up the business.
There's a few. I think number one is seeing our Google organic search just skyrocket. That's been fantastic because you put in that hard work. We've published over 830 articles now. We publish one a day. So, you put in that hard work and then when you see it pay off, that's amazing. But I think probably it's when women say how much it helps them, because that's why we started in the first place. We wanted it to be this amazing online free resource to help women. So when people say, oh, that article really helped me, I don't feel alone, you've given me confidence, or you've given me strategies and tactics, that's the most rewarding thing, because that's why we started the site.
And so now typically, what's the demographic of your membership? Are they young mums or older mums? Or tell me a little bit about your typical members.
I think in terms of it's readers rather than members, because we have a membership site, but our actual site we call it Talented Ladies Club, but it's open for everyone. It's really important to us that it's free and open to anyone who needs it. So when we started it, if I looked at kind of who I was personally writing for, it was women like me. So it was women in their late 30s, early 40s, who've had careers which they absolutely love. They do things they're passionate about, and they're looking for a way to make that happen, either career, business, or freelance, but around having children. But in fact, although that's at the core readership that I personally think about when I write, we appeal to a really broad spectrum of people. I mean, we have about 20% of our readers are male. They are, and actually our core age is probably about 35 to 45, but we have people in their 20s and people in their 50s and 60s reading it. And, it's there for absolutely everybody. Anyone that finds it helpful or inspiring. It's a really important thing, I think, as well, is that there's a lot of advice articles on there, but we also want to really inspire people and get them thinking that I can do that too.
Yeah, certainly. I know going through your site, it inspires me. I think it's absolutely amazing. So I'm so glad it's there as an offering for so many people. And that's interesting. I didn't realize that you had a 20% male readership.
Yes, and we have from the beginning, actually. So, I mean, a lot of our articles about, careers and entrepreneurship are as valid towards men. And I think certainly now our organic search has really taken off. People find us in all kinds of ways. You might put in toxic people, for example. Our 10 giveaway signs of a toxic person is always our most viewed article, because it for some reason does really well on Google. So people type in toxic, men and women are searching that, and we come up top and they click on us. So yeah, and I'm delighted to help men just as much as women.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Hannah. Now, tell me, on your site, what are all the offerings that people can enjoy?
Well, our main site, so talentladiesclub.com, is like advice and inspiration. We have a real breadth of articles, from how you write a business plan to how you do a business strategy to how you cope, how you get on with colleagues in your career, to things like psychology and health and well-being as well. And I think you have to look at a career holistically. You can't look at a business or career in isolation. It's part of your life. And if other areas of your life are not working, then your career or your business won't work. So we try to look at the whole person. So we'll have advice on a broad range of topics. But the idea is to keep you happy and keep you ambitious and keep you successful. Success being whatever that means to you. We have inspiration articles as well on the site. Then separately, we have a membership club called Kickstart, which is relaunching in the beginning of September. And what that does is it takes it up a step. So you'll find advice and inspiration on our main site. But in Kickstart, we give you actual tools. So we've got over 100, as you mentioned earlier, 100 workbooks that guide you practically through all the things that you need to do, and mini courses and little 10-minute coffee break videos. If you want to do something like for example, we've got a brilliant PR tip, how, we've got coverage in the Sunday Times and the BBC, and we've got it from one really, really simple PR tip, and we share that in our videos. So lots of really practical tips. And a really important sense of community. We've got a friendly Facebook page where people, it's a private group for the club where people will ask questions, they will share their websites and ask for advice. So you've got that sense of a peer group who are there on your side, and you can be accountable and you can share problems and get solutions.
Oh, it's so exciting just listening about it. I am joining Kickstart in September, and certainly you must remind me as well, so that I can promote it as much as I possibly can in the lead up to it, because your readership is not just based in the UK, is it?
No, it's global. So UK is our biggest market, but North America and Australia are also, and rest we have people all over the world. But certainly North America and Australia and New Zealand are our second biggest markets.
Mm-hmm. Just listening to you is so inspiring, Hannah. I want to ask you, for anyone thinking of going into entrepreneurship, what would be your top 3 tips for success?
Okay, so firstly, really important, know your audience. A lot of times people start business, they focus a lot on what they're doing, what their product or service is and what they want to get out of it. But actually the focus really should be on who you want to appeal to. Because if you're really clear about what problem you solve for people and how you specifically solve it and where those people are, then you can find them and you can talk to them and you can interest them and engage them. And I think when I see businesses failing to do that well, and I've seen some brilliant businesses that get it completely wrong, which is really frustrating, it's usually because they are not focused on their target audience. They're not really clear about them. And actually, as a side thing to that as well, some people try to go too broad. They'll try to appeal to the broadest possible range of people, thinking if my catchment is 1 million people, then I'll potentially get more customers. But actually, the narrower you focus your audience, the more specific you are about the people you're helping and the problem you meet, the more likely you're going to engage those people because they will know you're talking to them. The second tip is to have goals, to set yourself goals. They're really important because if you don't know where you want to get to, then you can't design a strategy that's going to get you there. And actually, when you have a goal as well, when you set a really clear goal that's ambitious but achievable, your brain kind of looks unconsciously for ways that it can help you to get there. It's almost like creating a blueprint in your mind that your brain is unconsciously working to. So I think the best analogy I've had with this is like you wouldn't set out on a long journey without a map and without knowing where you're going to. And starting a business is no different. Don't start a business without knowing what you want to achieve, and even better, the steps that you need to take to get there. And the third one is just to stick at it. Business is not always easy. I mean, we launched not even 2.5 years ago now, just over 2 years. And we've had our low days and low months. When we first started out and we were putting out articles every single day, we launched with 100 articles and we were really ploughing the time into it. And our reader figures just weren't going up, and they'd plateau for a while and they'd go up a little bit and then plateau. So we've had those days when you think, what's the point? Is it ever going to go anywhere? We're doing a lot of work for not much reward, but we were really determined and we kept at it. And only by doing that do you see results. So stick at it. You will have to ride out the days and the months when no one seems to notice you. But if you've got the foundations of your business right, you will get there in the end. And you will fail along the way. You will have to change things that you do. Things aren't working. But if you stick with your goal and you really, really work at it, and you're flexible to recognize things aren't working, but you stay true to your business, you will get there.
So just to recap, one is to understand your audience, to really niche, because if you specialize in a certain area, you'll be more successful rather than throwing the net out as wide as possible. 2 is to set really clear goals so you know where you want to get to. And then 3 is to stick at it and keep going even when you go through the really tough stuff, because it always ends up being a little bit hard before the real success starts to come. That's fantastic advice. And Hannah, I could talk to you all day because you're just so interesting, and I've just decided I'm definitely going to have you come back for part 2 and part 3 because there's so much more that everybody could learn from you. Now, where can people find you? Give me the website again.
The website is talentedladiesclub.com.
Mm-hmm. And if people wanted to reach you directly, is there an email address that they can contact you at?
But there's a contact page on the form, but if they're very welcome to email me directly. My email address is Hannah, that's HANNAH, at talentedladiesclub.com.
Wonderful. And also we can find you on Twitter, we can find you on Facebook, and are there any other social media sites where they should be hunting for Talented Ladies Club?
Well, if they're on Pinterest, Kary loves Pinterest, so we're also on Pinterest as well.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hannah. It's such a pleasure to talk to you, and you are such a wealth of information, plus your passion just comes through so strongly that I'm feeling really inspired. And it's the morning in London or in the UK right now. It's evening in Sydney, and I'm so excited I don't think I'll be able to get to sleep. So I'm going to hop on to Talented Ladies Club again and go through all of the interesting articles that you've got there. Thanks so much, Hannah.
Oh, thank you, sir. It's been lovely. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
And you will be back.
I will be.
Okay. Thanks. Bye, Hannah.
Thanks. Bye, Jane.
You've been listening to Jane Jackson Careers. Sign up to receive regular career advice at janejacksoncoach.com.